We've realized it's been a problematic intersection, and so we've been working with the Peter Courts, with Washington County, and the City of Beaverton. They all have an interest in that intersection, and there's a lot of processes that play out when you have a major development in terms of traffic impact and analysis and conditions of improvement. So navigating through the process of negotiating the agreement with the county, the city, the Peter Courts, and ODOT took a long time. The good news is mid-April we finally had a draft agreement in place. In mid-May, the agreement has been signed by all parties. Washington County is going to deliver the project, so they are in the process of getting a design firm on board. I believe it's WH Pacific, local. So they'll go through the design process. ODOT's ready to issue a permit to have the county perform services. There'll be sidewalk improvements and a signalized intersection, signalization of that intersection with the left turn lane, and that signal will be coordinated with the signal buttoner so that you get traffic flow. And so my hope is design will take about a year, and then construction, probably one construction season to get it done. And I've lived here for a long time. Went to Cedar Park and Sunset High School. I know that intersection really well, and try to make the left there on a weekend, and you're waiting 5-10 minutes. And I've seen a couple of nasty crashes there too. So we realize it's an issue, and I'm glad to see that we finally have come to agreement. It's about $1 million project. We'll also be putting some sidewalks in there too.
Well, the word from Washington County is completion in 2018. That seems pretty optimistic to me.
But so about a year, and then design. So you figure fall of 2018.
Yeah.
If they start design now, get design done next spring, and then construct it that summer.
And just from your knowledge of previous projects like this, how much impact is it going to have on us while it's being
On the what?
built? How much impact will it have on traffic while it's being built?
Well, oftentimes what we do with construction projects is we look at the traffic impacts, and so most of the work will probably take place at night, just to minimize the impacts. We know we do traffic analysis. A lot of the ODOT work you see occurs at night, just because it has tremendous. You take a lane, it has a tremendous impact on the system itself. We're already congested, so there'll probably be work windows for the contractor to do most of the work at night and getting noise variances. We know there's an apartment complex nearby there, but the county's taking lead on that.
All right.
I have one question. I was involved in the Connecting Neighborhood for a while.
Yeah.
And there was an ODOT gentleman who was at one of the meetings, and that intersection was talked about.
Yes.
And one of the issues too was bike safety. So, is that going to be mitigated, the problem? Because let's say if you're biking south on Cedar Hills Boulevard and trying to go underneath the underpass,
Yes.
over under 26.
Yes.
That entrance onto 26 west makes it very difficult for people who are on bikes and stuff. And so that was a complaint. Is anything going to be going to
Not as part of this project. The focus on this project is really the off-ramp there and the on-ramp and the left turn on Cedar Hills. Ultimately, if the Peter Courts develop that parcel there, I think some additional condition improvements will take place. I know there's some talk about going under the ramp and some different options, but until that development takes place and further negotiations between the city and the Peter Courts, I don't know what the other improvements are.
And the irony is they tell us that if we'd gone ahead and let them build the Walmart, it would all be fixed. I'm not sure we'd be done.
She asked about the bike lanes. I'm curious what's planned for the sidewalks?
Yeah, I believe we're looking at constructing sidewalks on the east side, there where we have that water quality facility. And I believe there may also be sidewalks on the south side, but we're trying to get pedestrians to stay on one side of the road because there's not a good connectivity. So ideally you'd cross Cedar Hills, be on the east side, and then just go all the way through because of the ramp on the west side. So.
Right.
Right, yes.
Well, progress.
Okay, just one more question. You said the light's going to be synced up with Butler, which makes sense. Is it going to be synced with the lights in the other direction as well?
I would hope so. I think that's a conversation with the county. I think we own the signals, but the county actually does the timing. And that would be a question for Washington County. I don't know the details of that right now.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Hi, Greg. We just got a quick update on the CHP 26 off-ramp.
Oh, okay.
In case you don't know, this is our Washington County Commissioner, Craig Malinowski. Thanks for coming. And then one of the other topics I was going to give a quick update on is there's a section of Butner Road, which is, for those of you who live up here north of 26, it's kind of parallel to 26, and it runs a long way. But the problematic area is in between Murray and Cedar Hills Boulevard, and it's a very old culvert that isn't functioning to move water fast enough, and so people have been subject to flooding upstream of the culvert. And they need to rebuild it to go under Butner. And there was an open house meeting for residents a couple of weeks ago, just to talk about the plans. Was anybody at that meeting? No? Okay. Well, it looks good. There were a lot of floodplain maps that were distributed, and there were some options. They can't make it carry all the water of a high rain event, because that would flood south of the culvert, downstream of the culvert. So it's like they have to spread out the flooding. Yes, basically. So everybody gets a little flooding. And there was a good bit of discussion about why homes were permitted back in those days in floodplains, and we've learned a lot since then. There may be some properties that will end up being purchased by the county because they are subject to severe flooding. People can't get flood insurance anymore, and so it's a serious problem. I think CPO 1 tends to focus on things north of 26, and we need to do a better job of serving our neighbors that are part of CPO 1 that are south of 26 in Cedar Hills, because not all those folks are part of the Cedar Hills Homeowners Association, and they need representation too. So we're going to do better. And if any of you are from that area, we are still in the process of forming our CPO 1 steering committee, and we would, the steering committee's duties, among other things, will be to set the agendas for future meetings. And so we'd love to have some input from folks, from our brothers and sisters in Cedar Hills. And the other topic was, they didn't put it on there. I thought there was a third topic. So with that, let's go ahead and hear from the fire folks. We haven't heard from them for a while. Come on up. And introduce yourselves, because I don't know any names.
Hi, my name's Zach, and I'm a filling in lieutenant with Engine 60 today. You haven't seen us for a while, but apparently there's the fire station's first due that covers this area. There's 2 CPO meetings tonight at the same time, and so they asked us to come down the hill and fill in for them tonight. So I think they're in the process of transitioning this group to us so that we'll be available. If we have to leave rapidly, it's no problem for anyone else. It's just us. We are still on duty, so if we all of a sudden stop talking, listening, and walk out, that's just kind of what we do. I wasn't able to find any of the response data for this CPO. Sometimes we can kind of update you on quarterly response data. I can tell you that most of our responses in these areas are medical calls. We run quite a few medical calls. However, recently, on the 31st, we had a 2-alarm apartment fire at the, the Timber Creek Apartments. And that's, as far as I know, were you guys aware of what they found the cause on that was?
Barbecue.
I think it was a barbecue, moved inside, but one of the other things that I wanted to talk about today was it is the barbecue season, and whether you live in an apartment, it's very critical for people that are in or around apartments, because the actions affect more families than just your own. To make sure that you keep flammables and combustibles away from your barbecue, keep that stuff away from the wall, especially if you have vinyl siding. Make sure that you pull and give a good airspace between the wall and the barbecue. Also, if it is on fire, shut the lid. Try to pull it off. If it's propane, turn it off and then call the fire department. If it doesn't damper itself out, if you spend a lot of time trying to mess with it, it delays our response. What else is coming up besides the barbecue safety? Another thing is to have water around, and I guess a little less problematic is, but that we don't see sometimes, were burns associated with barbecues and kids and people running around and hot food. Just remember to be careful. 'Tis the season to have your windows open, so I just want to remind everybody, if you don't have good fitting screens, to make sure your screens are in the windows. And our motto has been in the past that it keeps the bugs out and the kids in. We do see every year a handful of injuries from kids falling from second and third floor windows. So make sure that you got your screens in. And even little kids coming out of first floor windows can be quite hazardous because they tend to be heavy in the head, and they like to lead with their head and fall on their head and all that stuff. You might have heard some press about our pilot program with the verified first responder. So we have an app that we can run on our phones. It's called Pulse Point, and for people that are willing to do CPR, they can run that app. And if they're in an area where there's a cardiac arrest, your phone can go off, and then you can go and help do CPR. And so they partnered with Philips. I believe Philips sells the AEDs, and because we have been trained to use AEDs, they donated some AEDs to the fire department. So we have verified responders, and a lot of our people live in the Tualatin Valley service area. So if somebody if you were to be somewhere and called in a cardiac arrest, and somebody in plain clothes shows up with a little red box and says, "I'm a verified first responder," that's probably an off-duty firefighter that has one of these AEDs that has been notified that there's a problem. And I've actually been on a call where we showed up and one of our guys was in the house and we recognized everybody in this. And he's like, "Oh, I'm a firefighter. Okay, that's great. Where do you work?" "With you guys." So we didn't even know. He was there with his AED and help. So if you see,
You're having a heart attack, you ask for like.
yeah, the district has, like, our numbers are better than the national average, but our physician advisors and our goal is to try to like use these other social media and added systems to try to see if we can eke those cardiac survival rates even higher. Let's see, we just hired, we just had 2 academies come out of our training center. One is a group of firefighters, and another one are some paramedics that are a single role. So as we use the medic units in cars, we've seen a need to have people that aren't necessarily trained in all the trades, but specialized. And so we've got a new contract with them, and they're going to go out and staff some of our medic units. And fulfill some of those calls that are a lot of the medical calls that take the rig that we're on, which is a fire engine, has 4 people, the water, the hose, that's out of our area or ties us up on a call. It'll help alleviate some of that. 2 calls in the first due of certain areas. What else do I got here? We have, I think before your next meeting, 4th of July will have happened. You can go on to our website and they'll probably start posting that stuff. A lot of this information that I have, if you go to tvfr.com, they have buttons and things you can get lost on there for hours. But legal, illegal fireworks, safety things. We're not quite in full swing for wildland season. What we call wildland season is when the bark dust starts burning and you see smoke in eastern Oregon blowing into the valley, and sometimes we have to send rigs over to help. But as it gets drier, remember to be more cautious with burning debris and things that might be going on, fireworks. And bark dust fires, if you see bark dust that's smoking, call us, but it's also okay. Some people don't know if it's okay to put it out or what they should do about it. If you see smoking bark dust or something like that, give us a call. And if you have a hose or something there, go ahead and put it out, and we'll come and verify that it's been put out and taken care of. If you're doing backyard fires, this whole area is inside the DEQ burn ban boundary, so you're not allowed to like take a bunch of tree components that, like say after a windstorm that fell down, and burn those on a giant pile, like some of our friends can do that live outside the burn ban area and have massive burn piles. But you can have recreational fires, so like the backyard fires and recreational. So this is like a classic campfire in an approved container, and those are allowed pretty much all year, even when the fire danger is high. If they haven't closed all burning, basically, it's like going camping where it's pretty warm and dry, and they're still letting you have campfires. That kind of recreational fire is allowed, way past where most of the other burn bans are. But remember too, for your neighbors or for yourselves, a reasonable fire, not great big bonfires, but like things that look like firewood in a small, reasonable container. If you go out and start refinishing and painting your decks and fences while it's nice out, if you do use rags, especially like linseed oil, please store those in a airtight container away from your house or somewhere away from things that can burn. Every year we go on at least one fire where somebody's restained their deck or their fence, throw the rags outside, and those rags will ignite and then typically burn the siding up off your house, and then have a nice attic fire. And that's all I have as far as the seasonal safety stuff. Do you guys have any questions for me or anything that you're wondering about?
I have a question for, it's just more of a curiosity. What causes a mulch fire?
Bark dust fires?
Yeah.
They're usually by a bus stop or some other meeting area of people that like to throw cigarettes. And then there are occasions where there's just moisture and rotting debris. A little bit can create its own heat. I don't know, sometimes you'll see, Grimm's Fuel is a good example. Some of the compost areas where you can go buy bark dust, sometimes those piles are steaming. And that's because depending on what kind of organic matter they put in, they're just composting and it's actually creating heat. And so we've had fires where we had to go put the giant pile of bark dust out. So.
I got a question. My office across the street, in one of the closets, I thought the light bulb had burned out, but the actual socket was burned. And I think some moisture got in up above. Is that a fire hazard up there? I guess the broader question is, what are some of the signs that you've got a problem with your electrical system that could cause a fire? Is that one of them?
Well, there's the smell of burning. That's one that we always associate
Yeah.
with. Absolutely.
Well, I took the light bulb out,
but if
and
your
I
circuit,
turned off the circuit.
yeah, if your circuit breaker trips, if you hear something or something
Yeah.
pops, and you go to your panel and the circuit breaker's trip, that means that system has seen an overload. Something
Right.
caused it to go, oh, I don't like this. I'm going to try to keep Johnny from getting electrocuted. So it'll trip. And if your circuit breakers are tripping, then you have to decide, did I overload it myself? Or did some of the equipment that's on it fail and it's protecting? Because motors can fail, ballast, especially the older fluorescent tube lights. A lot of things are switching to LEDs, so you don't have the ballast burning out quite like you used to. But the ballast will burn up, and then it smells like the building's on fire, but it's just one of these light things. But that's always, if you think you have an electrical problem, you can call us, and we'll show up and evaluate for burning things. And when we scratch our head and go, I don't know, you got a problem, then we can kind of help find the other resources.
Yeah, because we've got a lot of older homes here that may or may not have been built to any code that may or may not have existed.
Yeah, a lot of the homes on the west side were built with a little bit better code standards when you get more downtown, and a few of the smaller areas in the older parts of town, those codes were either non-existent or were not into. So, I mean, you have some really creative things.
Okay.
Illegal fireworks. What are they?
So, as I understand it, right, is anything that flies in the air or explodes, things like that. I can read what the definition is, and after I read the definition, I'm like, that's perfectly unclear. Illegal. Oregon law bans fireworks that fly, explode, or act in an uncontrolled manner. I don't know if that's the kids running around with it, or whether that's the actual firework itself. But it's like bottle rockets, Roman candles, M80s, firecrackers, anything that's really fun is illegal. So if it's flying, shooting, now you can't control the little kids that were like all of us when we were little. Find creative ways to make things that are legal sound like and act like illegal fireworks. So,
And for neighbors, up in my neighborhood, we see things shooting up in the air 3 or 4 days before the 4th of July.
yeah.
Should we be calling you guys?
So all enforcement is complaint based, right? We generally don't go out driving around because it's really hard to sneak around in a fire engine. And then they think it's fun. Oh, look, they drove around, so then it's a game. So then we go away, they do it again, we drive around. So generally, the police find illegal fireworks usually doing something else, or there's some other associated problem. But if you see or and you see the same thing happening, you can call and we'll come in tangent with the police. But generally, they're the enforcement.
Leading up to the 4th of July, we'll get called, we'll go out. The closer you get, the more fireworks you see, and it gets to a point where we don't have enough resources to handle it. But if they're like landing on people's houses, or they're, being really more dangerous than just the fact that they're lighting them off, then that sort of moves up higher in priority. But honestly, it gets to the point where they just put it out as area info, they call it, fireworks heard in this area. And if we have a deputy that can handle it, then they'll drive by and hope that just the appearance will settle it down. Sometimes we'll go talk to somebody. Sometimes if it's bad enough, we'll seize them and we'll issue a citation for the fireworks. But it's sort of like at the beginning we can do stuff. As it gets closer to the 4th of July, it's like crazy, and we just try to
just cross your fingers.
Exactly.
And when we show up, most of the time they're getting lit off, but unless somebody said you set it off, and that doesn't hold anywhere. We can play that game all day, and if they're like, no, I didn't. Unless I have a picture or I watch them light it, I really have no ground.
It's a challenge.
But he's right. Once it gets closer, it's just the day of and the day in front of it and back. We're all just hanging out, hydrating, waiting for the fire.
Yep.
And instead of chasing around fireworks, we're waiting for the fire, and then as it tapers. Any other questions for me?
One statement, as far as electrical problems, I would say if the electricity things start acting weird, like odd dimming or motor slowing down, then we need to call an electrician or again.
Call electrician, and if you do have dimming or motor slowing down or blinking, call PGE, and then they have a lot of really good test equipment, and a lot of times they can test your transformers and stuff and figure out where the power problems are. Any other fire department related stuff before I turn it over to you guys? Go ahead.
Is there any recommendations on how high the branches on trees should be if you have one of these backyard campfire things?
I don't know. I can't quote any rules. Reasonable, based on how big your fire is what I would say. The tree limbs themselves generally pretty hard to catch on fire in Oregon. Or on this side of if you're up on the other side of the mountains, 40 feet away from your fire. But anything else?
Great, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
I'll keep this briefer because we got a lot of people to talk and I'm dying of allergies. So, I'm Deputy Prince. I've been on and off with CPO for about 10 years now. You see me pop in and out. We have a flyer that's in the back of our newsletter. It's a little old, but there's some good information still in it. We're just going through these monthly. Some issues that we've been seeing in the area are identity theft and fraud. So if you're getting calls from people that are claiming to be your grandchildren needing money to get out of jail, it's probably not them. If somebody calls you on the phone saying they need to get access to your computer because they need to check your bank accounts, it's probably not a legitimate person. And if you get a package from somebody and they're asking for thousands of dollars to ship it somewhere else, it's probably fraud as well. So unfortunately, last month I had a person that lost $140,000 to it. They just kept getting scammed over and over and kept sending money, kept believing, kept hoping that it would get better, but it ended up being way too much money. So if you hear your friends talking about that kind of stuff, grab the phone out of their hands, give them some good advice. It's probably fraud.
Same with warrants. Someone
Same with
calls and
warrants.
says you have a warrant.
Same with
or
IRS, calling
I got a
you
call
and threatening
today
you.
from the IRS telling me I'm under investigation. Yeah, I'm scared.
We don't do warrants that way, and IRS doesn't ask for green dot cards from Walmart to get paid back. So those are also good signs. The sheriff's office last year won the Dewey Enforcement Agency of the Year for Oregon, and we won that 11 times in the last 14 years. Other than that, there's some good info in here. Just open it up to any questions you guys have. I know you guys got a lot of folks to talk.
Have you seen an increase in DUIs, or say last year or 2 years? I'm seeing more in the paper and
Our DUIs, they're kind of, they've been sort of steady. It's one of those things that's kind of always going to go on. One of the things that we're working on doing as far as the DUI is the daytime marijuana Deweys. Typically, unless you're an alcoholic, the Deweys are at night at the witching hour. Marijuana, people get up and they wake and bake, and then they drive, and so that's kind of the big thing for us is to train our daytime patrol deputies just to be looking for those things, just like anything else. And it's, you know, some of them it's really obvious. Other ones you got to kind of look a little bit more. So there hasn't been a big increase in them. It's been steady, and we've been plugging away at it. We've won it 11 years, and we get, you know, roughly about 1,000 Deweys a year, give or take 100 or so. And that's not. I mean, you used to do Dewey stuff. Didn't
Yeah,
you?
I used to be on graveyards.
Yeah,
Back on
so-
swing shift again. So I think we have a more active PIO program now too. So we're probably passing a lot more pictures and info and stuff to the
Yeah.
press, and they're taking it. So
I'm just fearful driving at night. I mean, I know the one that would happen on the US 217 to US 26, the head on there. That was,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just, you know, it's scary.
You know, it is scary, and it's scary for our guys that work at night. We just had a deputy that got hit again by a drunk driver.
You got a
While they-
concussion about 3 months ago. Was
Yeah.
on admin leave, and then a month in
He
he
just
got
got
hit by
back
another
and he got
car.
whacked again, and yeah, it's scary. It's not like we're letting up. It's just,
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I agree, that's scary. I just have been seeing a lot of people driving my daughter back and forth to practice. They're on their phones. I mean, I'm not talking a little glance. I'm talking reading and texting like this as they're driving on 26. I mean, what's being done to help change the, I guess, awareness? Because it's supposed to be worse than drinking and driving when you're looking at your phone.
yep.
I don't know if awareness is going to be. I think everyone knows that it's bad, but they still do it.
Do you remember years ago when seatbelts, we were really doing a big seatbelt course, and there was a lot of education on it. Same with the Deweys. I think the key is more education to get the stigma that, you know, don't do that, and really hammer down on people that are using their phone. It's hard to catch them, like the fire department said. It's hard to sneak up on someone on their phone when you're in.
Just drive on 26.
I know, and I've seen them, and I've stopped them, and I just have a plain unmarked car. And our traffic team is doing missions, and we're trying to figure out ways to do it. I know Apple's new iOS 11 that's coming out has a feature in it that shuts off the ability to get text messages and that kind of stuff
Yeah.
while your vehicle is moving.
Some of the other companies are gonna.
I think it's going to come to that because it is dangerous, and you can tell somebody by the way they sit in the car what they're doing. And the other part is just getting comfortable doing that kind of enforcement. It's hard to, if he's driving down the road and he sees someone like this on their phone and he pulls them over, they're gonna not be straight and say what they were doing. They're gonna lie and say they were doing something, or I wasn't working on my, we can't give them a citation unless we see it. And so but I agree, and it is scary, and I see it, and we take enforcement when we see it, but I think it's just going to be like the same things as seatbelt, as people have to get, you know, over that, whatever that primal instinct to check your phone when it's beeping at you is. Yeah.
I think it'd be great to get some free advertisement maybe from that electronic bulletin board over by,
The ODOT reader board?
well, those, but I mean, even just a more dramatic picture, and they've got those, ones that display the Powerball.
Oh,
things,
yeah.
You know, like, I'm
Yeah.
always glued to that one. It'd be nice to have maybe an example of a crash that happened from somebody, you know, because people are always, when they see those crashes, they're like horrified by it,
Yeah.
but they don't make the connection that they're looking at the phone.
That's kind of the big thing. I was on the traffic team. I was actually up here a couple times when I was a supervisor of the traffic unit. And, you know, we had that, we were always focused on drunk driving with kids, and we still are focused on that during prom and graduation and all that kind of stuff. But the new danger is the texting. And it's the same thing as, you know, like educating them about it to not do it and get it, you know, through everyone's head not to do it.
Well, because it seems to me, I've noticed, at least in my opinion, that there's more of a spike of pedestrians being hit, and
Mhm.
bicyclists being hit, which I think is probably being contributed to by people texting and not really.
Some of those are the pedestrian. Like, I think the lady was hit by a train in Beaverton
That's right,
because she was
that's right.
listening
Right.
to her headphones and texting, so it's like everybody.
Right. Yeah.
And I think, you know, I don't know what the answer is. It's kind of like,
We're kind of glued to our phones as a society now. Children are
Exactly.
born with phones immediately, so
Yeah.
I don't know how to break that.
I don't either. I think, I almost like, I have a 17-year-old daughter and she drives, and I notice when she gets in the car, she sets everything up. She's like in the car for like 2 minutes before she moves because she's put her phone, getting the music ready so she doesn't have to touch it when she's driving. And I hope she does that all the time when she's driving, but I think it's one of those things where you have to start with a generation and just get it hammered into them. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this as they're growing up, so that then that generation, you know, like I said before, when I was a kid on a seatbelt, I used to not wear a seatbelt. I was at that age where it became a habit. Now, they got to the point where you wouldn't, if you drive down the road without your seatbelt, it feels weird. Like something's missing, I'm not doing something. I think that's kind of what we have to get to. It's not gonna be quick, but it's like a long-term goal.
What's all the stuff on your vest?
Radio, ammo, that's pepper spray, just gloves here for touching yucky stuff, 2 flashlights, stuff for picking stuff that goes underneath my car because I've never used it my whole career, a taser, and then some stuff in the pockets. And I run light compared to other people, and then handcuffs on each side. Some people run with more.
How much does that weigh?
27 pounds.
Yeah, that's kind of the new thing.
This is what we're wearing now. That we used to have the belts there.
The belts, the suspender, but
Unfortunately, the sheriff lets us wear this. It looks a little more military, but it's just a more efficient way to carry it on your body, so our backs survive a little longer.
when they're in the office too, that's his ballistic vest and everything, so he can take that off in the office and be in a t-shirt, well, that shirt,
A polo.
cool off. By the way, I should have introduced myself. I'm Lieutenant Marzilli. I am the new lieutenant for the North Operations area, which is basically, my area is 26 North, East County line to Cornelius Pass Road roughly. And so I left some cards down there with my phone number and email. My extension changed, my cards haven't changed yet, so I tried to write little tiny numbers to match, and I have big hands and not very good penmanship, but my email's on there.
Are you stationed up at the Bethany?
I am stationed up at Bethany, yeah. And if anyone has any questions, you can email it to me. If you just want to talk about whatever, I don't mind. I like to get out of the office and buy a cup of coffee or something, and we can talk about whatever you got going on, those kind of things.
Does everybody know that the sheriff's office has an auxiliary office up in the Bethany Shopping Center? It started out as just a room, I think, and now it's expanded into.
We used to be a little tiny room
Yeah.
with some report writing areas, and then last year, this year,
It was last
Yeah.
rotations when I opened up, so about
Yeah.
9 months ago.
it's really nice. I was in investigation. I was on the traffic team. I went to investigations for 6 years, and now I'm up there, and that was built while I was in investigations. It's really nice. If you guys are in the area ever, stop by and take a look. It's a nice facility. We do fingerprinting there, and we have 14 deputies, I think, that are stationed out of there. They
Two
go into
administrative
service
staff.
out there, so they're closer to where they need to be. Pretty good.
Have you caught the fugitive that's on the loose in the Bethany area?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
And that's nothing you guys have to worry about. It was a domestic disturbance kind of thing. He took off. He's not a danger to anybody. other than his family, unfortunately. But we have run into him plenty of times. I think we'll find him.
Well,
He was
it's
up
on the
there
news
running.
tonight, so that's why I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
wondering.
we were looking. Speaking of kind of area happenings too, about the only thing going on is there's been some business burglaries down kind of by the Umpqua Bank
Yeah,
and stuff, and so
that's the second time they've been hit, I think.
they were hit. It seems like every bank so periodically gets hit every couple of years or something. Other than that, like the
Just
fire.
last week, there was a
Yeah.
car cloud at the Body Slope Park there.
There are car clouds kind of sprinkled all over. Like the fire department said, this is the time of year you do stuff outside, your lawn work, mowing your lawn, your garden, painting your house, fixing your deck, whatever. A lot of people leave their garage doors open even during the day and they're out back. We've had one just last week where someone got their bicycle stolen out of the garage because they were out back. It takes a second to do that. Car clouds, I got to witness a car clouder. When I was in investigations, we were doing a stakeout, just like on TV, waiting for this bad guy to show up and break into cars. At the same time, we were putting a hidden camera in the business to watch this parking lot because this guy kept hitting it. Well, we're sitting there watching, a car comes in, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. The guy gets up and starts looking through cars. Like, oh, this is our guy. Breaks a window. It's the window of the detective's car, who's a county-owned detective vehicle that's inside the building, putting up the camera, and stole his backpack right in front of everybody. And we talked to him and said, why, what's the deal? And he said, if he sees a backpack or a bag or anything that can contain something of value, he sees money. So you leave your old gym clothes and whatever in the back of your car in a bag. A bad guy doesn't see old gym clothes. You might think there's nothing in there. Who the heck would want that stupid thing? He doesn't see that. He doesn't know. He'll break your window, or she will break your window and take it, and now you've got a broken window and whatever else was in your car stolen. The two biggest things that you can do from being just sort of a random victim is take everything out of your car that looks like a value and put it in the trunk or bring it inside, especially bags. Big cup holders full of change or something of interest to these guys. Otherwise, they'll go to the next person because they want to be easy. They want a sure thing. Lock your doors, your garage doors. A lot of cars have the home link in them. If you park in your driveway, that home link is active. It has electrical power, I think, all the time. And if you open the door, some of them will be activated. And so if you have a garage door open, all I got to do is either break the window and push the button, and they have ways of breaking the window that are not very loud. They throw broken spark plugs at it, just shatters. You won't even hear it. And they can go in your garage and then go into your house. And if it's like my house, they go in, sitting on the countertop inside my house is a purse, my wallet, probably leftover cake if I'm lucky, leftover food in the refrigerator. They'll have free reign, and that happens. That's not something that I'm making up. That happens a lot. Most houses, garage door openers have a button inside the house that you can push to open the door from inside. On a lot of those is a little button that you may not even notice that you can slide that will kill power to the opening function of the garage door. If you flip that, no one can open the garage regardless of what they have, the remote or not, until you turn that back on. Other options are putting on a timer, so like between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., no one can do it, open it, or just have a switch and unplug it. And those happen around everywhere. That's not just here, it's not just anywhere. Seems like these bad guys will go shopping and say, I'm going to shop in the Bethany area tonight, and they'll walk through a neighborhood, and he'll come on in the morning, and there'll be 10 cars that got broken into, and a couple houses that had the garage doors either left open or open because of
The majority of those things are people left things in their car. They're not just randomly breaking windows and searching. They find things. People, time and time again, leave their purse in the car, leave their wallet in the car, or just sitting right there on the seat. Sometimes they don't even lock the door. Or a big pile of change, that's good enough for them. They'll break in for change.
When you guys are out shopping, if you go to the grocery store or the mall or something, just when you walk through the parking lot, look into the car next to you. Not in a weird, creepy way, but just glance in and see. You'll be surprised how much stuff people leave in the car. If you think, if I was a bad guy, that's a bag, what's in there? You know?
So make sure your car looks less attractive than the one next to it.
Yeah, I have my, my reusable shopping bags, and if I leave anything, I just be sure to do that, and a dog blanket or something over it. Is that I mean, that's better than nothing.
If it's out of sight, it's out of mind.
That's what I think. And they'll, my banged up old car, they'll go to a better one.
The best bet is to not have anything, but
Right.
if it's, like I said, out of sight, if it's a bag that's easy to see, like you said, they're not just randomly picking a car and looking through it. They're picking a car that has the best bet.
This lady was parked in the parking lot next to Bonnie Slow Park in the Gallagher Designs, because they let people park there for a baseball game. And they smashed her window and took a laptop, phone, and a purse. And Gallagher Designs got it on their camera. And so they've got a perfectly beautiful picture of the guy and of his vehicle. And on Nextdoor, people have been posting, oh, that's a Chevy something or other. And somebody recognized him and said he's wanted for the same thing in Pendleton. So they were letting your
They
detectives
call them smash and grabs for a reason. And I saw the guy break the window on a detective's car. And it was summer and I had the window down and I didn't hear it. And I was
And
not
this
that
is
far away.
in the middle of the afternoon with people
Yep.
all over the place.
Yeah, it takes 2 seconds to do that and they're gone.
So with all this talk of breaking windows, it makes you wonder, is there any point in even locking your car?
Yes.
Yeah,
I know, because you get
And then
your
they
stuff
get in the
stolen
outbreak.
and you have a broken
Yep.
window.
because there's nothing in there. If you don't leave any of value, then block it. Some people don't, they say, I'll just leave it unlocked, but then they come out and the door's open, the glove boxes. Because that's the other thing they do, right? They'll go through and try door handles.
Well, we need to move
Yeah.
on to
Yes,
the
sorry.
program.
If you guys,
Thanks
again,
very much.
my cards are up there. You can go to the Sheriff's Office website too and get my contact info. So thank you very much for having me.
Wonderful program. Commissioner Malinowski has a quick update on the CPO proposal, which was Community Partners for Affordable Housing, the corner of Murray and Cornell, the big, long vacant corner. So brought some printouts.
Take a quick look, I'll just go over them real quick. So you may have seen it before, this is the current planned layout. And really the site's about half building up close to the intersection and the other half now will be parking. They went from 48 units down to, I think this says 43, it's actually supposedly 45. If you look on the back, here's what they're proposing for a plaza. This is rather small print, but there's also a dedicated bus stop right where the tail is next to the former tattoo parlor. And their plan is to put community gardens in that little strip there in front of the former tattoo.
In between the coffee shop?
Yeah, they decided not to do any indoor restaurants. They weren't able to put it together and make it work. There is pads for 3 trucks to pull in.
Food carts.
So you're gonna have the choice of 3 food carts with any luck at all. And then there's some examples. If you go back to the later pages, you'll see some examples of what they've done in other places. On the 3rd page in the area. And the type of style of architecture and stuff, and they like to make a building that makes a statement. These particular drawings went with the original plan, which is not what's happening now. But the decision we're making today is they need us to promise to give them 2 years to go around and collect money to do this. And so we're going to make a commitment not to take it away from them for 2 years. They'll have a 2-year time period to go out and get grants.
My understanding is that because they weren't able to acquire that other piece of land there, what used to be the tattoo parlor, they're not going to be able to provide enough parking to have the retail commercial component that they wanted to do. But they will have enough for food carts, which is
Yeah, there'll be 3 of them, and that's a respectable
And
amount.
I'll get a copy of this as a PDF from Greg and post it on the CPO1 Facebook and website. So if you didn't get a paper copy of it tonight and you want it, I'll provide it.
Yeah.
Okay, parks. Thanks, Greg.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Eric Owens. I'm with Walton Hills Park and Recreation District, and I've been the representative to CPO1 for the last year. A year tonight, actually, is my anniversary. However, that's all going to change after tonight because we have our board meeting on the exact same night, exact same time, and I'm being more and more required to go to that. So I'd like, come on up, show your face. I'd like to introduce Lindsay Bjork. She is the center supervisor at Cedar Hills Recreation Center, and she will be the new representative to CPO 1. So she'll be the new face, and you won't see my face as much.
I was doing CPO 3 over at Garden Home because I was at Garden Home, so and now I'm over at Cedar Hills.
So she will be here going forward from tonight. Just a couple updates because we've been here along. You have other things to do. I came a few months ago and talked about the master plan for Cedar Hills Park. It's kind of stagnant at this time. It's moving forward, but it's going to design review in July, mid-July, so it'll start picking up as things go, but it's going to go to the city for that portion. And I just talked to planning today, and it's going to be in the middle of July that it should go to that stage. All our summer programs will...
This is the one on Cedar Hills Boulevard?
Yes, it is, right next to the PetSmart. Yeah. All our summer programs will start after the week of June 26th, or start that week and start as they go out through the rest of the summer. That includes all our outdoor pools will open up that week as well. We have free programs such as the Rec Mobile and Nature Mobile that go to different parks throughout the district that provide free activities for the kids in the parks. So those will start as well. Some of those sites will also have a lunch program where they get the free federal lunch program for the kids that don't get the opportunity to have as much food as others do. So that'll be part of that as well. Also, it'll kick off all our big summer events. So there'll be a number of theater and concerts in the park that will culminate with our big Groovin' on the Grass, which will be August 19th over at the main complex. And that will have, this year we'll have a Quarter Flash, local band. Just a side note, they went to my high school, so there we go. Curtis Salgado and New Shoes. So it's a real Northwest flavor show. In the past we've had some bigger acts from national acts, I should say, and this year there'll be local acts. So
That's just before the sun.
What's that?
That's just before the eclipse too.
Oh, right, exactly. And then our big party in the park will be July 29th, also up on the main complex. And that kind of is another big opportunity for families and everybody to get up and see some of our activities, get to do a lot of games and fun, swimming, tennis, all the things we do there, as there's a cultural fair from the city of Beaverton and that kind of thing. So that'll be on July 29th. And lastly, I just want to toot our horn a little bit. Actually, two more things. The board of directors did officially name the new park. It's not in our community over here. It's over next to Mountain View Middle School. But it's a really neat partnership between the school district and the park district, building this really nice park out there that's going to have synthetic turf fields and play equipment. But it'll also have a field that will be able to use for people of all disabilities. So it's a sports field that children with, or even adults who are maybe in wheelchairs or have to use crutches or whatever, will be able to take part in sporting events and activities on this field. So that is going to open up really soon. And that park we did officially name at the last board directors meeting. It will be the Mountain View Champions Park. So if you hear that name, that's what's being referred to. And now lastly, for the second year in a row, we have been nominated for a National Gold Medal Award, which is the National Recreation and Park Association. We are one of 4 districts who represent cities or residents of 150,000 to 400,000. And this is the second year we've been nominated. We didn't win last year, but we're keeping our fingers crossed for this year. And we'll know at the end of our national conference in September. So. Does anybody have any questions for us?
Just a big thank you for sponsoring the farmers market down here.
Oh, thanks, Greg. Yeah, we had it's a great little. I'm sure you all know it, but we worked with the farmers market over there to put that on, so that's great.
Did you say already if you're doing a local conference in the park, like the one at Cedar Hill Park?
I didn't get it, but yes, we do those. But
Are you doing that again this?
Yes, yes.
The locations rotate, they rotate them every year, so we're trying to look, but for whatever reason, it hasn't been updated on the actual lineup of where the concerts are, but we are doing them, we just don't have the locations.
Yeah, I was gonna ask the same thing, I haven't heard.
Yeah, they've been set, so why don't I send you them?
Yeah,
And,
I'll let
and
you know.
Virginia will get them out to you.
We will be having the Cedar Mill Cider Festival at the JQA Young House on October 15th, Sunday, October 15th. We had to cancel it at the last minute last year because we had a typhoon. But we can avoid that this year. And yeah, I haven't heard anything about Cedar Mill Park Concert.
No, I'll get you the information. We were trying to find it online today and it's not
I can
updated.
call Dale too.
Yes, you could. Yes.
You have some new park commissioners?
Yes, we have
Oh,
two
yeah.
new. We just had our election in May, and we have Holly Thompson took over the spot that was being vacated by Bob Scott, and then Felicita Matablanco is taking over the seat that was held by Larry Palat beforehand. So we'll have two new people starting with the July meeting. So
Isn't there a problem with the park district electors, because the majority of the park district board members are city residents, yet the park district is only 39% city of Beaverton. So shouldn't the park district be district positions? Because otherwise, I believe it's like either 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 of the park district board members are city of Beaverton residents, and they're only 35%.
Jim, that's a really interesting topic, and we absolutely don't have time to discuss it
Oh,
tonight.
of course, but
I'm gonna
he
pull
needs
the
to know
plug on
about
that,
it.
but
I will bring
let's
it
talk
back.
about that at another time. I'm not shutting you down.
Oh, no, I'm
It's
not,
just
but
we're already
he
half
needs
an
to
hour
know.
late.
I'll bring it back. I think it's in our
Yeah.
charter. And it's
Yeah.
been
No,
that
it's
way
a
forever.
really good
They're not
point.
by area, they're just elected. And
They're at large.
they're at large.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I just ask a quick question? So the new commissioners, do they have any influence on the Cedar Hills Park redo? I mean, if we have a problem, should we go to those people? Who should we talk to about making some changes to that park plan? I know it's been controversial, but I want to know how much the commissioners had influence on
Pretty
that.
far along. I'm a member of the Parks Advisory Committee, which actually looks at plans, and so if you want to talk to me afterwards, I'd be happy to give you.
You could go to our board meetings, and if there's not an agenda, there's a time where people from the public can speak. I will tell you though, I want to say it was the October meeting of last year, the master plan was adopted. So it's kind of far down the pike at this time.
I've heard that before, and then that changed.
I'm not saying,
Yeah.
yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
And actually, if you want to contact me with any questions too, I can help you as well too.
Gift card.
I didn't bring one with me tonight, but
I can put you in touch.
yeah, sorry. Any
All right.
questions? I know you guys have a lot to go through. So.
Okay.
Thanks for being here.
Thank
All right, thank you.
Steve Briggs from Washington County Land Use and Transportation to tell us about, we were hoping to get the maps projected up here, but we're missing a cable, so use your imagination.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks, Virginia. Yeah, I'm Steve Franks. I work for Washington County in the Department of Land Use and Transportation. And the purpose of my discussion tonight of the presentation is to talk about the URM Safety Improvement Program. URM stands for Urban Road Maintenance District. That district has this safety improvement program that develops safety improvement projects. So I have to ask, how many people are somewhat familiar with URM? You heard of URM? So a few people, okay. So probably a few with the URM Safety Improvement Program. So I have two handouts that will help. So I'm going to insert these. There's a green one and a white one. So if you don't have both, take it. Green and white. And while they're going around, let me just say something. I worked for the county for about 6 years. I've been the Urban Road Services Coordinator for about 3 months. So it's a very new position for me. I took over from Victoria Cedar, who did that position for many years. For background, just so you know, I'm a pretty optimistic person. So it's great that the county has this urban district. It's why our local urban streets are in pretty good shape. It's also why it's great, in my mind, that it's great the county has this safety improvement program. Over 6 years, it's funded 41 projects, cost about $14 million. Now, some of those projects are still being built, some are being designed. It's a really great program to kind of be proud of. While I'm an optimistic person, I'm also a pretty pragmatic person. So part of my discussion is to help frame for you the program. I don't want you to think it's more than it is, or that there's this huge pot of money that will solve all your problems in your neighborhood.
Oh, darn.
Yeah, sorry. I wish I could do that, but can't. So for the agenda in the green, I'm going to go over it quickly on the green page, an overview of ERM and the program. Then I'll talk about selecting the projects for the next fiscal year, which we're going to be doing fairly soon with ERM DAC that Larry Virgin is on. Number 4 on the agenda, I want to talk with you about some resources for more information. So when I leave and you leave the meeting, you know how to get more information, and then we can have some questions at the end. So, real quick, a history of ERM, or what it really ERM is. It's a special district that was formed in Washington County. It serves urban, unincorporated areas, so urban areas outside of cities, like Cedar Mills, Cedar Hills, Lower Reedville. Essentially, Urban Road Maintenance District maintains neighborhood streets. So not arterials, but it maintains local streets and neighborhood routes. And that's why they're in pretty good condition in these urban areas. And it was formed, first of all, back in 1987, when voters approved it. It wasn't funded, though, until 1994. That's when voters said, we're going to fund this thing. And that's when ERM really started. It was formed originally to maintain streets, and that was the sole purpose, to pave streets, keep them in good condition. Again, only the local neighborhood streets. 3 changes have happened since then. In 2001, the Board of County Commissioners approved a neighborhood streets program. It's pretty small, but it's funded by ERM, and that's for some traffic calming. It's very limited, but ERM branched out in '94 from doing just maintenance to doing some traffic calming. And then in 2008 and 2009, there was an audit done, and the audit of ERM said it was doing a good job, but one recommendation was there should be a citizen advisory committee. So the second big change was in 2010, when ERM DAC was formed, Urban Road Maintenance District Advisory Committee, again, Larry serves on. It provides advice to the Board of County Commissioners on how ERM should function. Meets once a month, 3rd Wednesday of the month. Normally, we currently have 1 vacancy. Main criteria is to be a ERM resident. So if you're interested in being an ERM DAC member, let me know. The third big change, the last one, which is why I'm here tonight, is in 2011. After ERM had been in existence for quite a while, paving roads, maintaining roads, the pavement condition was in really good shape. And so it was decided there was some money that could be shifted from maintenance to doing safety improvement projects. To keep us spending the level of funding for maintenance, we would have been paving perfectly good streets essentially. So in 2011, that's when this ERM Safety Improvement Projects program began. Essentially to develop capital projects, usually pathways or sidewalks, to fill in the gaps that exist in these urban areas. So we're going to be starting our 7th year of the program. And from now until July 15th, there is an opportunity for members of the public like you to submit proposals for new projects you would like to see. So that's why I'm here tonight. We're starting the 7th year of the program with an opportunity for people to submit new ideas. If you look at the green agenda under overview, I want to mention some of the managing expectations. We're starting this new cycle of identifying potential new projects, but 3 caveats. One is the project criteria. They have to be safety related. It's not aesthetics or for sound. The location has to be within the ERM district, and it's small scale. Originally the scale was about $150,000, now it's up to $500,000. So if you have a really huge project, we'll put it on the list, but probably won't get funded. If it's outside of ERM, not going to get on the list. So that's the first kind of managing expectations. There's very strict criteria. The second expectation is one of my favorite. We've been doing this for 7 years now. We already have a list of 150 candidates that people have submitted in the past that they want to see developed as projects, but they weren't selected. There just wasn't funding available. So while there's an opportunity for you to submit new ideas or proposals, I understand we're already building, our ERM DAC will be with 150 candidates they'll doubly looking at. So I don't really think, again, yeah, we can get all these things done. There's competition out there. And then the last expectation is, it is limited funding. We think ERMDAC will have about $2 million to spend ballpark this year on safety improvement projects. Last year, they picked about 7 projects or 8 projects. So there is limited funding. I forget if I mentioned, but eventually, once the maintenance of ERM streets declines to a certain level, within that safety improvement project money is going to be shifted back to maintenance. So this is not an ongoing program. We'll probably wrap up in maybe 4 or 5 years. Once the pavement condition gets down to such a level, we need to shift the funding back to maintenance. So those are kind of 3 caveats and criteria. We have a lot of candidates already. There's limited funding. And then again, projects so far about 41 in the last 6 years, over $14 million. Let me check my notes real quick. Also, they've evolved over time. If you look at the back of the reverse, the back of the green sheet, out of the 41 projects, I pulled out all the projects that fall within CPO 1. So these are not all the projects, they're just the CPO 1 projects. So for fiscal year 2017-18, there were 9 safety improvement projects, 2 were within CPO 1. 2016-17, 2 out of 7. In the original year, fiscal year 2012-13, there are 7 projects, 6 of them were in CPO 1. So CPO 1 has done a pretty good job getting projects, gotta say. Larry, anything you want to say about this whole thing, about just the background?
CPO 1 has been very active in submitting proposed projects. Of the 150, I'm going to guess that it's probably 50% is probably related to CPO 1. And when you get into some of the areas over towards Tiger things, there are very, very few projects listed. And some of that may be that it's new housing, so sidewalks are already there, traffic control's already there, so that's part of it.
Right. And I'll talk in a minute, there's a way to look and see where the projects have been identified. There's a map, you can clearly see what's on that list. Before I move on, one final thing. I've emphasized these projects, and look at the list, most of them are sidewalks or pathways. Let me tell you what they're not. I got a proposal today for a sound wall. Well, sound wall is not safety related, it's not eligible. I got a proposal for someone wants to widen the street, just for more traffic lanes. Well, that's not safety related for pedestrians or bicyclists. It costs way over $500,000. Yes, ma'am.
I was just wondering if you have a project that pushes the upper limit, but that could be funded and performed incrementally.
What was the last one you said?
A project that would exceed the $500,000 limit,
Yeah.
but could be done in funded incrementally.
And I'd say even if it's over 500,000, I'd submit it and get on the list. Because as we've picked off projects, it's getting harder and harder, frankly, to find these smaller scale projects. So I wouldn't let the 500,000 be a cutoff for you. Don't let that be a cutoff. Yeah.
Well,
And you're right, if we can break it into smaller segments, we can. We've done that in the past. The problem there is it's not as efficient as doing the whole thing at a time. So again, the program is shifting over time. And also, I said generally it's been 500,000. This year, ERMDAC did select, at the direction of the county administrative office, $1.5 million project. But that's unheard of. Yes?
So this doesn't have to do with, like, for example, putting a lighting on 107th Cornell. That's a separate bucket of money.
Street lighting.
Because they were gonna also put sidewalks in conjunction with that, I guess, to go to the school. So would that all be in that other bucket, not this bucket?
If it's sidewalk, pedestrian related, it'd be this bucket. If it's lighting, it would be separate. But if it's a pedestrian, if it's a sidewalk.
It was in conjunction with the crosswalk and light being put in at that intersection.
Wasn't that a facility that was required because of the new construction of the school?
Well, there's no new construction.
Maybe to answer your question, there's one other thing that was mentioned as an example of what it's not, which we get a lot of requests of. Anything that's a traffic control device. If it's a stop sign, a stop light, pavement markings, a crosswalk, currently it's not eligible.
Okay.
We have a huge list of, sidewalks, pathways. So currently, and I can go in more detail if you want, but those are when I get those, I send them up to the traffic engineering section.
Yep.
So if I get requests, it's not like it's not eligible. I'm dumping it. I'll send it to the right person. Yes, sir.
And is this the only funding bucket that the county has for this kind of
Good
stuff?
question. That's going to go with my other resources. Let me hold that in 2 minutes, right? I'm going to get to that, 'cause that's a really good point. Yes, sir.
Did you say no crosswalks?
That's correct. It's a traffic control device, it's traffic engineering, and they'll track that and respond. Okay, I'm watching, yes, sir.
On the fiscal year 2013 to 2014 funded projects completed, it says the Butner Road, Cedar Boulevard, Murray Boulevard, and it says project scope reduced. I'm curious what the definition of completed and reduced is, because it doesn't seem like there's been anything.
I can tell you what the reduced means. The reduced means that from the original scope that was presented to ERMDAC that they approved, somehow in the design phase, there was an expense issue that came up that's unforeseen, or just an issue that was not known. Maybe it had to be switched to a different side of the street. So somehow the scope was reduced.
But I mean,
The lower part of Butner Road is in a floodplain. That restricts what can be done there.
well, yeah, but I mean, it says from Cedar Hills Boulevard to Murray Boulevard, that's a long way.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem to be anything done. So the concern is that it's checked off as completed, yet nothing's really been done.
They did a real short segment about a block long, I think.
Yeah.
Get my contact information there, email me or I'll let you know. I've only been doing this for 3 months, so I don't know all the projects.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, my just concern is when people say completed, it's not technically actually.
And I would say if it's completed, what we meant is the project that was scoped out, and as we understand it, the engineers told me it's done, we moved on.
There were 2 issues with that. I've been on ERMDAC since it was founded in 2010. There's 2 issues with it. One was floodplain. The second one is right-of-way. At the stop sign about halfway through, the right-of-way, the stop sign actually is on private property. The road is so tight that there's no place to put any sidewalks or anything in. So Butner Road itself needs to be addressed in a different manner outside of this. It's a big issue.
And just so you know, if ERMDAC selects the projects, they have an idea what the scope is, the expense, but until it's selected, then our traffic design people can't get in and actually do the design work. And that's when sometimes these issues arise.
So that's what we decided was we'd do that 1 block segment for access to the park along Butner Road, and the rest of it we couldn't because of the floodplain and the right of way.
Yeah, but I mean, Cedar Hills Boulevard to Murray is a long area. That
Absolutely
1 block
correct.
is like a fraction.
Let me make 2 final points, and we'll open up to more questions, and we'll get back to your questions here about other resources. If you look at the white page, that provides an overview of this process. So let me walk through the flow chart. The public submits proposals. Again, right now we have about 155 candidates. Until July 15th, people can submit new proposals. Eligible candidates go to ERMDAC for their review. ERMDAC selects top candidates. Last year, out of about 200 candidates, 24 or 26 were selected. Those are sent out to the public for additional comment. At the very end, ERMDAC selects the projects for the following fiscal year and actually make recommendations to the board, which makes the final decision. So that's the flow chart. Key thing is the public submits proposal. So how do you do that? Next paragraph. Essentially, if you go onto our website and there are a number of different portals, you look at a candidates map, see if your proposal has already been submitted. If it has, you can submit a note saying, hey, I like this, I support this. If it hasn't, submit a proposal form.
So they stay on the list until forever,
For eternity.
until they're
Yeah.
selected.
Yeah, they don't drop off. And again, we like to say we have a big bucket, a wide portal. And that's why even if it may be over 500,000, we want to be aware of it so we can track it. So essentially the websites at the end, if you go to those, there's a map, there's a proposal form, and it's pretty self-explanatory, or you can email me. Now, the last point I want to make is on the green page, beside the agenda, are resources. That gets to your question, sir, well, what else is the county doing? And that's what I want to mention. I'm talking about the Safety Improvement Program. We also do other things too. Number 1 under resources are the links for this program. Under resources are 3 county staff. Myself for EARN, Shelley Euler is our bike ped coordinator. She does a lot on bike ped issues. She keeps an eye out for partnership opportunities, like with the school districts. She works with our capital projects teams, what opportunities are to enhance pedestrian bicycle work. She looks for grant opportunities. There's also a game share project that she manages, thanks to the county commissioners, about $2 million a year for school access issues. The other bullet there is Mike Mills. He's the Neighborhood Streets Program Coordinator, the traffic calming area, so the county does that. Number 3, there's a way to follow ORMDAC's work if you want to know more what's going on. And then lastly, since speeding traffic is a big issue, I've heard, is it Sergeant or Lieutenant Cannavon? Anyway, he's been to our group and has talked very passionately about how the sheriff's office wants to be aware of speeding issues. So you can call their hotline or fill out an online traffic complaint, and that's to get enforcement, like crosswalks, even though there's not a crosswalk. It's a legal responsibility to stop for pedestrians. So contacting the sheriff's office might be a solution for you. That's it. Questions?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I may have missed it. Differences in definition between pedestrian path and a sidewalk.
A sidewalk is where there's a curb and it's usually concrete. Pedestrian path, originally those were more like expanded shoulders along the road. We've kind of gone away from those. Early on, the pedestrian paths would be a roadway, absolutely nowhere for pedestrian to walk, nowhere. So we thought an expanded pathway, expanded shoulder is better than nothing. Now, since then, we kind of think there's a value in having the sidewalk and it's worth the money. One key thing is that the pathway doesn't have a curb, a sidewalk does.
Yeah, a path might just be asphalt. It might just be a thin layer of asphalt. We talked about having gravel paths before. The whole thing is to stretch the dollars.
And another, something that people don't think about is that sometimes there are drainage issues that come along with pathways and expanded sidewalks and so forth. And that's one of the reasons why some of those projects get limited, because they find out they've got to work with Clean Water Services and install sewer, which just, completely blows up the budget.
I have a question about when you are considering which of the, to make the top 20 to be considered. Is there any way if you can prove that your neighborhood has a very good usage of additional paths in the past, that you can send that in to show that you guys actually, your neighborhood actually uses it? Or does that matter?
What do you think, Larry? I think so far the issue's been more what's the need on that site, and the greatest safety need.
Well, I mean, usage, it seems like, because for us, we've increased our walking to school because we've had 2 major things put in, and it is, we're like one of the top in the state, and we just won an award last week. So, I mean, it seems like you could say, we have proved that our neighborhood has increased its usage by quadruples and less bus, less per bus, less driving.
Right. I understand what you're saying. I think ORMDAC might say, well, maybe this area hasn't used it so much, but they've not had those projects yet.
Well, maybe. I know like Oak Hills, they got a bunch of sidewalks put in, and that they've actually had more traffic congestion because people are refusing to walk.
Right. I think 2 of the criteria are connectivity, especially like sidewalks along arterials where there's a lot of pedestrian use potentially. And also, what is it connecting to? If it's near a school, for example, that proposal would get more points than if it's just in some neighborhood. So I think what the linkages is and what it's connecting to is important.
Steve, I don't know that I heard you talk about public comments. There's a phase of this whole process where it opens up for public comments.
Right.
And in fact, even on the map, I believe, is it on the main interactive map where you can add comments to an already selected, not selected, but already called out problem area?
That's more for the top candidates. Last year, for the first time, once there were 24, 26 selected, there's an interactive map with those 26 candidates indicated, and you can go on, click the one you're interested in, and I say, I support this for these reasons, or I don't.
Right.
So that's the public comment. It's really important. the second last bubble, which will be in the fall, and that's after ERMDAC to select their top candidates.
And they do pay attention.
Right, and we do conduct the ERMDAC public meetings, as I mentioned, normally the third Wednesday of the month. Normally, I don't think they're going to meet this July, but they're open to the public, and we'd like to have people attend.
And if you get the Cedar news, I'll have all that information in there with links. And in fact, the CPO1 announcement this month has links to all the maps and forms and resources.
And maybe one last comment too, because I don't want to be caught in a few months saying, you said this, because the program is evolving. And so ERMDAC still has opportunity to say, hey, next year, maybe we will lift that cap. Which they might have already really, so that 500,000 cap is not in stone. And there's even been a little talk about, should we do this every year? Maybe we'll go to a biennial cycle, because there's so many candidates, and we don't want to waste people's time when maybe they can do 2 years of projects. But that's yet to be decided.
And I would encourage you to speak up to your commissioners. There'll be some changes in 2019 on your commissioners, and speak up and encourage them if you think this program should continue to find a source of money to go ahead and put toward this. Because right now we are just living off the fact that we had extra money left over from fixing the road, and that will come to an end, as you mentioned. So I'd like to see us put $2 million in forever, because we're never going to get through that list of 150.
Thank you, Commissioner. I did bring a third handout, which I'll just leave on the table. It's the earned annual report. This was just published a few weeks ago. So it's 4 pages. The back page is how can I propose a safety improvement project. Also requesting urban services. You can call in for a pothole or whatever. So if you want information about earned, it's the annual report back there.
Good job.
Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me, and thank you for coming to your CPO1 meeting. I'm going to be walking through, oops, I think I'll get out of the sun. Walking through the handouts that I brought, in case you need some. We've got a stack of them still in the back. So I'm just going to walk through the different materials that I brought, which will touch on the various parts of Metro, your regional government. So first I'll touch on our visitor venues. Has anyone been up to the Oregon Zoo lately for the last 6 months or so? Oh, great, great. Well, you've probably seen that the new conservation education facility is completed. That was opened up the very beginning of March, so it was open in time for the spring break camps going out to the kids. But now with the school year ending, the summer camps are going to be happening, and it's really great that the kids have better classroom space because we haven't crammed in all kinds of areas of the zoo and tents and whatnot. So it'll be really fun to see them up there. We have the final 3 projects for the Zoo Bond program, which was funded by you in 2008. So Polar Passage will be reconstructed. That's a massive overhaul of the whole polar bear area. And primates will be getting a major upgrade, as will the Africa exhibit and hosting rhinos. So those are the last 3 major projects. We've planned all of those 3 projects together to make most effective use of your tax dollars. So as you've been up at the zoo the last few years, we've been able to replace the whole central utility spine. So the disruption that you've been very patient with over the years that impacted, for example, the zoo concerts the last couple of years, that is done. So we're able to host larger concerts again. So thank you all for your patience. And the animals, thank you too. Another visitor venue that is going to be experiencing improvement is the Convention Center. We are moving forward with the Convention Center Hotel. That it'll be a privately owned, privately operated hotel that has a bit of public funding in it in order to ensure that it was developed as a convention-serving hotel. We are planning on having the groundbreaking for that next month in July, which is a major milestone for us. So hopefully it has been.
Where's it located?
At the north end of the convention center, right across the Max tracks. Yep, yep. So that's pretty exciting to finally have that. There continue to be great shows at the other venues, the expo center, as well as the theaters downtown, like more Broadway shows coming. So I'm going to switch topics now over to garbage and recycling, also known as solid waste. You've got a couple of different handouts. The first one is titled Solid Waste Roadmap. We have a system that's been working, it's been in place for about 30 years. It has evolved over the course of time, and new technologies have come about, and the composition of our garbage has changed. So what we did is we lined up all of our contracts so that we could re-examine how the system works, and we could have all of the major parts that would need new contracts come into alignment. So if we were going to make some changes, we had everything set up efficiently. So what we're looking at, and you can see listed out in this handout, is we're looking at getting some of the wettest, heaviest stuff out of our garbage, getting the food scraps out, particularly from the commercial food preparers, the larger restaurants, the cafeterias for large employers, institutions. We have a lot of food processing in our area. This is all what we call back of house food scraps, not the scraps after your food's been plated, but the back end where it can be done efficiently. There are almost 100,000 tons of food scraps going into our garbage that we think we can get out of the waste stream. And instead of sending it to the landfills, we can have that enter into composting as well as anaerobic digestion to get energy out of it. So there's higher and best use. Yes, ma'am?
Has there been any partnering with the school districts?
There has,
yeah, because there's a lot of efforts to recycle that aren't, as good as they could be, let's put it that way.
what our staff has found in engaging with the school districts is every school district handles its food distribution differently. So it's really a case-by-case basis. So we're going after the larger producers first. The other thing that we're doing, I talked about the back of house, but we're also working with revamping again and working with restaurants and other institutional food providers to see what food they may have already prepared, but they don't have any more customers that night. So it's the Fork It Over campaign where we're able to put them in better connection with food banks and things like that to ensure that food is used. So we've had those programs in place for about 25 years, but we have found that there are a lot of new companies and some different innovations, so we've revamped that as well.
What about encouraging Washington County haulers to do the green waste food recycling?
So the residential food scraps,
Yeah,
you mean?
I just spent a year living in the city of Portland, and I got really used to the idea that I could recycle my kitchen food scraps along with my green waste.
So here in Urban Unincorporated Washington County, the person to talk to would be your county commissioner.
Okay, great, get on it.
We actually have looked at doing that. We do actually have a source that needs it. Nature's Needs out in North Plains needs a little higher protein feed to mix with the tree
Not just
scraps
yard
and lawn
scraps,
clippings,
right.
yeah, to go ahead and make their stuff. Part of it is the haulers, of course, would have to be one more thing they have to keep separate from everything else.
Right.
And they're trying it out in Forest Grove to see if they can make it work. And so we're continuing to work, but the trick is, as soon as you say, oh, and I want the stuff kept somewhat separate, then all of a sudden, it's like, well, then that means you're gonna have us put another truck on the road, so we'll be needing an increase. And it's like, well, what can we do here?
It's not just put them in the yard debris?
It hasn't been yet. Part of the issue is that Nature's Needs doesn't need everything, and then here's the deal, they need a certain percentage of food to stuff. So first thing in the year, here comes all the grass clippings. And so they're still having to mix stuff in to get it beefed up. And then in the summer, there's not much grass, people let their yards die, and now all of a sudden there's a different proportion of food so it's really hard for them to scientifically, they have to have a certain mix. And
Portland seems to be making it work, so can't we learn from what they're doing?
I think so, and we are working on it. But we're starting with the commercial food because that's where there's a lot of it.
Sure.
And you know, you trip over things you never thought was coming.
Oh,
For instance, you know the biodegradable spoons and forks, they break down in 90 days. Well, it takes nature's needs about 50 days to make compost. And so what happens is here comes this beautiful compost with knives and forks in it because it hasn't had their 90 days yet. And you know, that looks peculiar to give to people around their yard. So, you know, who thought that would be a problem? But we are working on different aspects.
Let us know if you need support.
Thank you.
We're also looking at how to take advantage of newer technologies. I mentioned the anaerobic digestion. We're also looking at taking a portion of the solid waste, the garbage, and sending it down to Covanta by, it's in Marion County. Is that Brooks?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
The incinerator down there?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. They would expand it, have the latest pollution controls and whatnot. See if we can get more waste out of the garbage.
And would that produce energy?
Yep, go out on the grid. So another thing that we did as part of looking at all of this is we took a look at all of the landfill capacity that is available to us. For the last 20, almost 30 years, well, let me go back. When in the early 1990s, all of our garbage was going to the Portland landfill at St. John's, and it was filling up. And so there was this problem. How are we going to handle this? And so the Metro Council got this problem to take a look at. They looked at incineration, and they also looked at developing a new landfill. Waste Management provided a solution where they would build a new landfill out in eastern Oregon. It was state-of-the-art, continues to be state-of-the-art lined landfill. They capture the methane, and so they were given a guarantee of receiving 90% of the waste from our area in order to have enough streams so that they could pay for the investment of this brand new landfill.
It goes on trains.
No, it does not.
Oh, it doesn't?
It goes by truck.
Trucks.
Yes, it goes by truck. For Seattle garbage goes to the same landfill. It goes by trains.
Why does it not go by train?
We looked at that years ago, early in my term, and it's considered a short haul. You know, the long trains we see that are a couple miles long, they're going to Chicago. Okay, so just going out to Arlington, Oregon, 150 miles away, that's nothing. So Seattle's a slightly different story, different distance. So anyway, we did an assessment of area landfills and found it varies from landfill to landfill. Some have about 50 years capacity, others have about 150 years of capacity. Landfill space is not a problem. And we're going to continue producing enough garbage that some of it will go to landfills. But there was one landfill, there is a landfill down in Yamhill County that Waste Management owns, and they have been pursuing an expansion of that landfill. And we were getting a lot of pressure from folks in our area not wanting to send our garbage to that area. And so we on the Metro Council just adopted a policy a few weeks ago saying that when all these contracts expire at the end of 2019, we've served notice that if you have a limited capacity landfill today, that we will no longer be sending garbage to you to landfills that need to be expanded. You need to have the capacity for the longer term, which means that the Riverbend landfill will no longer be a landfill available for area garbage as of the year 2020. So I've heard from quite a few people in the urban unincorporated area, as well as from the cities in my district, that they wanted to see us stopping our garbage flow to Riverbend. It's right along the Yamhill River, which then flows into the Willamette River. And someone else's drinking water is downstream from us.
Right.
So that's really the primary issue there. One of the last things that we'll be doing in the solid waste roadmap is looking at our transfer station down in Oregon City. Have any of you folks visited either the Metro Central transfer station or Metro South? Yep. So you know that we take self-haul there. That's one of the things that distinguishes the publicly owned and operated transfer stations from the privately owned and operated. I know when I was moving my in-laws out of their house and into assisted living, I was visiting Metro South transfer station quite a lot over the course of about 4 or 5 months, cleaning out their house. I also took material to the household hazardous waste depot that was there, as well as filling recycling bins with lots of paper and cardboard. So we provide the lowest cost service that we can. We're not making any money off of that. We're just trying to stay cost neutral and cover costs. But that site is very site constrained. It was built to actually serve as an incinerator site. But we decided not to go with the incinerator route and instead go the landfill route. So we made that site work. But as our region has grown, it's more and more site constrained. And safety is a big issue. And we've had some traffic accidents there, cars and trucks going in and out. So we're looking at possibly taking some of the services that are there on site and moving them to a different site and better utilizing that site. The bottom line is we're still going to provide services in the service area. Don't worry about that. We're very cognizant of making sure that we have equity of our services all around. Also in your packet is additional materials on the food scrap program. We've been entertaining all kinds of questions, so I included that in your packet. Enough on garbage, don't you think? Let's switch to another part of our business, and that's parks and natural areas. Did anyone here participate in this Chehalem Ridge park planning effort? Well, one of your handouts is a map of the Chehalem Ridge area. You own almost 1,200 acres of land up along the top of Chehalem Ridge, which is just outside of Gaston. You can see it if you're in western Hillsborough, Cornelius, or Forest Grove and looking south. The big hills you're looking at in the Iowa Hill, Blooming, Fern Hill area is Chehalem Ridge.
You got it by Bald Peak?
Bald Peak is in Yamhill County, further down here. You can see in this map that there are several different public holdings in this area, and that has a lot to do with the fact that this is in the Tualatin River area. There are many seasonal streams here. So we were fortunate to acquire this very large land holding from a lumber company, and we have all kinds of videos on our website and articles in your big backyard that talk about how we've been transforming the forest from this real monoculture of mostly Douglas fir trees over to a much healthier forest, and having woody material on the ground so that it filters the water, and really the wildlife is springing back as well. We do offer nature walks through the property. If you look at your big backyard, either in the paper version you can get at the library, or I brought tonight, or online, there are all kinds of classes, and I really encourage you to take advantage of those sneak peeks. They're a lot of fun. So we went through a master planning process, and here's the recommendation on the back. There's much more information on our website as well. But I'm really pleased that we had so many people participate. coming to the open houses, participating online and giving us comment, filling out surveys. We had over 1,200 surveys returned to us. So this solution will support trails just for walking. It will have multi-use trails for some mountain biking and walking. It utilizes a whole bunch of the logging roads that were there, but it does close some of the logging roads where it was going through sensitive habitat and relocates to safer trails. Horses will also be allowed to ride in this area as well. There will be picnic shelters, appropriate places for horse trailers to come in, restrooms, that sort of thing. We only have about, I think it's $20 million. So we probably will only get to build a small portion of that at first, but we're hoping to get something built by 2020.
Is that open to the public at all at this point?
Only on these sneak peek trips.
Okay.
Yeah, because they have active logging going on at different times and whatnot.
I like to go out and hunt mushrooms, and I was thinking maybe that's a good place
Well,
to go.
if you don't see an official close because of, there's no real good place to park. That's the only problem. But you can go and walk on the property. It's not signed at all.
Okay.
So please be careful. We are opening, sorry, I want to make sure I reference my notes because we've opened a few new places. Has anyone been to Orenco Woods Nature Park? Right near Cornelius Pass Road? It's an awesome place. It has at least 1.5 miles of trails, 3 absolutely gorgeous pedestrian bridges in it. It's got a nature play area with water features for kids. You know where the new Walmart is, the Walmart neighborhood grocery store on Baseline Road? And there used to be big sequoia trees. Well, the Hillsborough Public Works Department managed to get a hold of a couple of those big sequoia trees that were cut down, and they built these beautiful benches that are there, and you can see them just behind the rest areas. Have a look, they're just stunning. And there are some great sculptures there too. There's this big apple sculpture, and then the sculptor also built these massive sculptures using twigs, and volunteers helped build them. They're just stunning. It's a beautiful place. Check it out. The Farmington Road Boat Launch will be opening up June 24th. So for those of you who like to go canoeing or kayaking, you'll be able to kayak or paddle from Rude Bridge Park and Eagle Landing and this Farmington boat launch. So the goal is to have new water trail stops every 5 miles, and so this adds another one to that. So it also had a picnic table, so if you're just looking for a new place to go visit and the picnic tables, please check it out. You have another handout here on the East Council Creek. This is another piece of property that you own. It's on the north side of Cornelius, and we're moving forward with the master planning for public access here too. Previously, also, I talked about Killen Wetlands, and the construction on that is supposed to start later this year. So I'm looking forward to it. Now I'm going to switch over to transportation. Who here doesn't experience traffic congestion?
It's awful.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. Well, our population continues to grow. Each and every one of us continues to have places that we want to go. And we have some real capacity problems all throughout our area. And the bottom line is the dollars that we have today. You have another handout, regional snapshot on transportation, and you can see on the back that essentially $1 from 25 years ago will only buy 75 cents worth of buying capacity. So that means for, not ERMDAC, but for any of the paving, for example, in the county, It costs more money to repave. It costs more money to expand an intersection because we have to go through and replace stormwater or add it in because it wasn't there before. New gravel that has to go in, all of that paving. Plus, taking advantage of new technology so that our traffic signals are better programmed. We have to have the gear in place in order to do that. So we, and I mean a collective we, every level of government, regional, county, city, you name it, we're all working together to try and solve the money problem. We're working together right now in the state legislature with House Bill 2017 to try and get more funding. We've committed money up front to do the design work for 3 major bottlenecks on 217, the Rose Quarter area, as well as on I-205. Well, that's good. We'll have the design plans done, but we need the money to construct those facilities. So through this bill, we're asking the state to put up half, and then our region's going to have to take care of the remainder. But we have all kinds of transportation needs. It's not just highways, some of it's roadways, some of it's transit, some of it is sidewalks and bicycle paths as well.
I presume somebody's looking at the bottom of 26 where it goes through the tunnel. That's reaching crisis proportions as far as I'm concerned. We're building a gazillion houses out of North Bethany. It's only going to make a lot worse.
The bad news is there's nothing to do with that tunnel. You would have to remove this to ridge in order to widen it.
Who missed those people?
Well, yeah, that's the problem. So,
What about going underneath?
well, what we've done to that ridge with the current tunnels is as much as we can mess with it, according to the geologist.
So there's got to be another route then.
Yes.
Something's got to be done.
There is another corridor plan for I-405 to make that work better. I commute into work a lot that way, and there's the tunnel itself, but what really impacts the tunnel performance is, particularly for the right lane, is the merging once you're on the other side of the tunnel.
I think it's the slowing down going through there. I think under 405 there.
I
think if we could just educate people, you can keep moving and you don't have to slam on the
Part
brake.
of it is we humans don't seem to handle curves very well. You can see it on Highway 26, you can see it on 217, you can see it on the Toledo curve.
So maybe there's a way we can use smart technology to keep things moving with the existing.
Well, you know, maybe autonomous vehicles will help with part of this too, and remove part of that human equation. The bottom line is we're looking at all kinds of solutions for all kinds of things. But at the end of the day, we have a really long list of great projects, but we're not making advancements. We're not whittling away at that list because we don't have the money to move forward. We're not getting money from the federal government like we used to. And that's for all things, similar with water infrastructure, sewerage, you name it. So more of the burden is being felt at the local areas. What you'll see on the other side of that sheet, for example, is the local governments are having to bear more of the burden for maintenance than they have had in the past. So that means they don't have the money to go for capital grants for more projects. So it's just been spinning downward. So we have ourselves in quite a pickle, and it's going to take a while for us to literally dig our way out of this. But we're working together to try and make more things happen, and that's good. So we do have one set of funds that we get from the federal government that is more flexible. It isn't automatically earmarked, not earmarked, but prescribed for roads and highways, and so we just approved some funding earlier this year for those flex funds. And THPRD, they're gone now, but from the meeting tonight, but they received a grant for a 1.5-mile trail near downtown Beaverton, the Beaverton Creek Trail. So that adds another link to the regional trail network that's finally built. Back on transportation, we're working on an update to the regional transportation plan, and at the very beginning of the new year, come January, we're going to have a boatload of new information for you to look at and for public comment. So I just want to put a bug in your ear to make sure that we cue that up, which is one reason why I brought that regional snapshot sheet. This is just a tickler page on our website. There are stories that go along with like these different graphs, news articles, as well as video features of how real people get around. Yes, ma'am.
And are you going to work in conjunction with like school districts and other things so that when people are planning, they're planning to make the least amount of traffic issues to add to, increased traffic issues to add to the already bad traffic situation?
Well,
I read your proposal, it says, I mean, the amount of increase in the next 20 years is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And then to make, if people don't plan to make the least amount of ripples in the pond, we're gonna really, it's gonna be Bay
Well, we
Area.
do try. The good news is it's gotten better. As we see new schools being built, they're more complete neighborhoods with more connected sidewalks. We have more funding now for safe routes to school than we ever had before. I'm a big fan of trying to develop those good habits early, young in age, that will stay with you. I was bused to school my whole life. I'm used to taking the bus. So I don't have any mental concerns about using the TriMet bus lines at all because I'm just so used to taking the bus, for example. So we are investing in many of those programs. Is there room for improvement? You bet. For example, in this new bill that we have with the legislature, there are programs in place to have complete streets and safe routes to school programs within a quarter mile of every single school in the whole state. Do not have that before. Do I want it to be longer? You bet. And they got some great impassioned stories from a lot of school kids from all over the state to try and widen that distance. But what the proposal is to get a level of completion done entirely in the whole state. So, they're both good ideas, right? But we're going to start with this first and then widen from there. Yes, sir.
It sounds like there's no lack of ideas. It sounds like there's a lot of great things.
There are no lack of ideas.
Great laboratory
There's lack
for
of
great
funding.
ideas. The question I have for you is, what is the position that Metro takes on revenue? For example, on Measure 97, did you all take a position on that? Are you advocating down in Salem for revenue measures, or do you not take a position on trying to get more revenue to do these great projects that you guys have?
We are working in partnership and supporting the passage of House Bill 2017, which is this transportation bill that includes funding through gas tax, vehicle registration fee, looking at imposing fees on hybrid and electric vehicles to try and get the transportation dollars. That's what I mean by we're all working together to help solve the transportation revenue problem. Yeah. We're close to 9 o'clock. Any other questions? If you have any questions, do feel free to email me or call me at Metro. If I don't have the answer, I'll go get it for you or find somebody who does. So, thank you again for having me.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. We will have a meeting in July. We usually take a break in August, unless something earth-shaking comes up that we need to have another CPO meeting in August. But we encourage people to do the neighborhood night out in their neighborhoods, and we'll keep you informed about that. Any comments or anything that you'd like to see us cover in an upcoming meeting?